Hello and welcome to the BI WizKid YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be scraping data directly from the web straight into your Power BI report. Our aim with this is to take away that manual intervention so that you don't have to keep going to that website and downloading data to your computer and then having to load it back into Power BI. You want to take all that away. What we want to do is create dynamic URLs by passing parameters into Power BI so that we can always get the updated data. Now, one of my passions is football, and the data we're working with today is fantasy football data, and it's from the English Premier League from around 2016 onwards. So it'll be connected straight into that data and bringing it all down into Power BI so we can analyze our trends, our analysis, our points, our goals, our assists, and all the other facts that come with this data set. So what exactly is in this video? Well, we're going to connect to a website and download the data. We're going to create an automated process so that we don't have to manually intervene in that data pipeline again. We'll be creating a function. We'll be creating dynamic URLs by passing in parameters. We'll be invoking that custom function that we created and importing a ton of data in absolutely no time. This video is great. It was recording for a live webinar earlier this year. And if you do like this video and want to be notified about any other content that is released, please hit that like and subscribe button right now. And similarly, if there's any comments or queries that you have, please get in touch below and I'll be sure to answer them as soon as I can. So let's get to it. Web scraping with Power BI. Boom. So what we're going to do, we're going to connect to fantasy football data online. Okay, we're going to extract the files and data from there. We're going to try and automate the process. We're going to cleanse that data a little bit, depending on what sort of time we've got left. Review that data and then discuss some of the sort of data modeling options and how we can then take it to the next step as well. Okay, so where are we going to scrape this data from? So we've got our fantasy football website. We're not actually going to hit this website. We're going to hit another website called Fantasy Overlord. Okay, so Fantasy Overlord, I've got a history button down here, and they've taken a copy of all the Premier League data from 2016, so you can see 2016 game week 5. They've got all the sort of files and all the data from each week, so a snapshot of each week of data all the way down to the current game week, where it's season 20 and game week 4. Okay, now if I just hover over one of these, and you could probably, don't know if you can see, you can't see the link, so if I right click and copy the link address here, that is just a CSV file. So if I click on that, that will start downloading a CSV file here. Okay, but what we want to do, we want to connect straight into that without having to download it. Okay, so I'm going to right click and take a copy of this link address to begin with. Okay, I'm going to go into my Power BI. I'm going to go to get data and click on my web link. Okay, so web links, you can sort of create URLs here by using the advanced, but I'm just going to click straight into here, paste that file in there, and then see what Power BI does to it. And this process has changed recently as well with Power BI. They've changed the way this works as well, so you do have to specify what sort of data type you're connecting to now. Okay, so Fantasy Overlord, you can see it's connected to it here, and we're going to open it as a CSV file here. So we can click on that file. We can open it as an Excel file if need be, or text file, but we know it's a CSV file, so we're going to connect straight into that like that. And there we go, simple as that. So we've now got that file from that particular data set that we downloaded straight into sort of Power BI, and we can see all the data that we need for our fantasy football right there. Okay, so what would we want to do? So what if we wanted to download all these files here? So we've got a number of files, we've just connected to one. Okay, so what we don't want to do is then connect to each individual file again and again and again. You know, you can sort of imagine how many different connections we're going to have in our report. Okay, and we want to remove that manual intervention from all of this. So what we want to try and do is automate and get every single file all in one go. Okay, so now the way we do that is we need to create a function. Okay, so to create the function, what we need to do is first of all get the URL and have a look at how that's created. Okay, now I'm going to go into my advanced editor here, and I'm using the magnifier here, so just let me know if you can see that. Okay, so fantasyoverlord.com Premier League, and then you can see the FPL. You can see the file equals FPL 20, so League 20, and then the game week is at 0 there. Okay, so that's the name of the file, and what we're going to try and do is put a I knew I shouldn't have done this magnifying thing.
Hey, Chev, I feel your pain. Zoom it, mate. Zoom it.
Yeah, zoom it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to zoom it. Okay. So let's have a look here. So what we want to do, first thing we're going to do is get rid of our steps. Okay, because all we want is the actual source. So we're going to get rid of 2 of our steps here. So we're left here with the source details here. Okay, and if we double click in that, then that will show us our fancy sort of connection there. Okay, if we go into our advanced editor, okay, what I want to do is parameterize this area here. So the Premier League 20, if I go back to my list, and if I look at each of these, you can see that they've got the number in there and then the game week. So it's a sort of number from 0 all the way to 36. And essentially what we want to do is pick out each of these numbers here and then put it into this URL as a parameter. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to delete this 20. Okay, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to put in the year in there. Okay, and the game week, I'm going to put the game week number in there as well. So game week and game week, like that. And put an ampersand, and then it needs a double quote just to close that bracket there. Okay, so what I've done there is just split up that URL to then say, okay, I want to put a year in here. So I want to put the year number myself, and I want to get the game week number. I want to put the game week number in myself as well. Okay, as always with coding, we need to sort of put our parameters up here as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put our year as text. Okay, and then we're going to put our game week as well. And then we're going to create that as a table, and like that. Okay, so game week as text, year as text, game week as text, and then as a table like that. Okay, and as you can see, it is case sensitive. So if you do come to doing this, then just remember that as well. Now, the other thing that I want to edit as well is this number of columns here. I don't want it to restrict the number of columns that it pulls in. So I'm going to delete that part of it there, but leave the rest of it. The rest of it's okay, but I'm going to delete that rest of it there. Okay, so I've put in that parameters in there for it to accept it, and I'm going to click OK. Then it's going to turn into this sort of visual here, so this sort of pane. So now it's asking me to put in these parameters here. So let's say, for example, if you go back to our website, we can see you've got FPL 18, game week 19. So if I put year 18, game week 19, and I click on invoke, then that will go and get me that file and then show me the data within that individual file, right? So now you can sort of see we've moved to the next step now. We've now introduced a parameter to then go in and get that data from there, okay? But we're going to go even a step further now. What we're going to do is get the list of all of these by joining onto this link here. So I'm going to take a copy of that Fantasy Overlord history, okay? And I'm going to connect into that now, right? And I'm going to go and get the parameters and data directly from that source. So I'm always getting the up-to-date data for that, okay? So again, I'm going to click into the web. I'm going to paste that history in there. Now, sometimes, you know, you don't always get the web view, or you don't get the right view of the data when it comes to sort of joining onto web data. You know, you don't get the tables or any displays showing up. So you have to use the examples option that you get for the web view. And if you give this a second, you'll see that it doesn't actually find any tables on that particular web page. But we're going to use the add tables using examples, which you might have seen before as well. Okay, so you can see we've joined onto the page, and what we're going to type in here is I'm just going to type in the FPL 16-game week 5. So FPL 16-game week 5. Okay, then I'm going to hit return. First of all, it doesn't get anything to begin with. So let's type in another one, FPL-16 Gameweek 6, was it? Next one, yep. Gameweek FPL, maybe if I spelled that right, FPL. Gameweek 5. And then you can see once you put a couple in there in the right format and get them spelling right, of course, it's now picked up all the other FPLs and all the other values in there. So it's now picking up all the different files and the codes that are available on that page, all the way down to game week 4 of this current season there. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that, and that's all I need for my parameters, right? And I'm going to import that as a table there straight into my Power BI model. Okay, so table here. Okay, so first thing, I need to clean this up and I need to get the actual numbers out of here. Okay, so quite a few things we can do. There's a number of ways we can do it. So let's just go. Easiest way, let's first of all split the columns up. Okay, and then from here, I need this number 16 out of here. So I need to remove the FPL. So I'm going to replace values. And I'm going to say, okay, find me FPL and replace it with nothing. And then that removes that FPL from there. And I've just got the number now. And then from here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to right click and I'm going to replace. And I'm going to take the game week and I'm going to replace the game week with nothing. So then I should be just left with the numbers. Okay, so now I've got my parameter values now. Okay, so I'm going to rename this to year. Okay, and I'm going to rename this to game week. Okay. Now the other thing I'm going to do, this is because I've already looked at the data. What I'm going to do, I'm going to order this by ascending. Okay, and I'll tell you why shortly once we sort of log in and have a look at that data. Okay, so now I've got a value with all my game weeks. Okay, so that's my parameter there. This is my get data function. Okay, so get data function. Okay, this invoked function was from previous, so we don't need that. I'll just delete that for the time being. Okay, so now I've got my year and I've got my game week. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I now need to pass that into the URL. Okay, so from here what we can do is add a new column, and what we do, we click on the option that says invoke custom function. Okay, if we click on that, we'll just leave it as custom for now. The function query, you can see it's got get data function, so that's the data function that we created in our previous step there. Okay, and again, it's picked up the parameters, so it's asking you, okay, well, what do you want to put in as the year? And we're going to say, okay, well, I want to select the year and the game week. I'm going to select my column, and then I'm going to select my game week there. Okay, so the parameters that we created in that URL, we're now passing in from the new data set that we've got just in the screen behind us there. Okay, now if we click OK, that creates us a new column, okay, with a table in there. Now, if I click on the side of any of these tables, it now puts that value of the year and the game week into that table and then shows me the table down here. If I click on a different value, it then goes and shows me the data from there as well. Okay, and I've got all the way down to the current season 2002, and then I've got that data there for me as well. Okay, so now I've automatically grabbed all that information from that website. I've cleaned it up a little bit. I've sort of put it in the format that I need, and I put it into a function for me to just go and grab. Okay, so now the only thing I need to do now is click on this button here, okay, which then says, okay, I'm going to get everything for you and I'm going to put it all into one single data set. Okay, now the one thing to do here at this point is just to click this load more, because sometimes if there's additional columns that it doesn't load in, it might just leave it out. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck this option where it says use original columns as prefixes, and then I'm going to click OK. And then as quick as that, it's already got all the data from all those files on this page, and we've now scraped every single file from this particular website and downloaded it into our Power BI data model. And the great thing is this is ready to refresh and ready to update as more and more are added in, because we've got the game weeks from examples, and that's going to keep updating each time that refreshes as well. Okay, so as you can see, we've got our data here. Now there's a few things we're going to do to this data just to clean it up a little bit. Okay, so first thing, you can see that it's got a headers here, so let's deal with the headers, and let's put the first row as headers there. Okay, we can rename these here, so these we can rename to year. Okay, and this one we're going to rename to game week, because then we can have a look at the game week. Then we've got first name, we've got surname, we've got position, we've got the team, and then we've got the cost of the player, we've got the number of points that they got in that round, the total number of points that they've got, the average points, goals conceded, but there's some errors here as well. Let's have a look. So remove errors. So let's have a look at these errors and see what these are. Okay, so cost seems to be errors. Let's have a look. So let's keep these errors. So right click on here. Where's my keep errors? Where's my keep errors option? Number filters, no. Remove errors. I don't want to remove errors, I want to keep errors.
It should be Sheb under the keep rows tab.
Keep rows.
And then isn't keep errors as part of there?
There we go. Knew it somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to keep my errors just to have a look and see exactly what's going on. Okay, so if I click on this error, so it's saying that couldn't convert to a number details cost. Okay, so there must be something in there. All right, okay, so I'll see what's happened. So because we've imported all these separate files, okay, and we've imported them all as separate files, there's still the headers in each of those separate files in there. So what we need to do is just filter those out. Okay, so if I do this again, just to show you, keep errors. Okay, but I'm going to step up a couple of steps here. Okay, rename that header. Okay, I'm going to filter this out. I'm going to say, okay, well, let's filter out first name. So first name, if I type in first name, you can see that it's got first name in the columns. I can uncheck that. Okay, and that will remove all the rows that have first name and have the surname and have the position list and all those column headers that are further down in the data that we can't see. It's just going to remove all those. So hopefully if I go to the next step where it says keep errors, it's now blank because we've got no errors there. So that's good. I can remove that and then have a look, continue having to look at some of this data. So we've got yellow cards, goals conceded, points saved, and all the way to the end. And if we go towards the end, we've got game week forecast. So you can see it's got forecast values here. So it starts at game week 1 and game week 2. So it gives you sort of a forecast going forward as well. And this adds to the sort of analysis that we can sort of make from some of this data as well, to then forecast actually, well, who's going to forecast it to get more points in the coming weeks based on what they've or how they've performed in the first few weeks as well. And this is some of the data and some of the transformations and the data modeling might come into play here as well. And the reason I sort of ordered it, so if you remember before where I ordered it by 0, the game week, as you move along into the sort of further game weeks, if we look at the first value that was in the on the website here, so the first one started at game week 5. Okay, so what that did was it removed the first 4 forecasts for the game weeks, and so when you imported everything else, it never showed the first 4 game weeks because originally it didn't have those columns there. But because we've started at the 0, it's got all the available columns, and then if there's no column available in any subsequent files, it's then just putting a blank value in the place of that. Okay, so we've got the game week forecast all the way from 1 all the way to sort of 38 as well. We've got an index in there as well, and what I would do is add my own index in. So let's add another column in, and I'm going to add an index column from 1. Okay, and I'm just going to put that to the beginning of the report. So I've got an individual identifier for each sort of row of data as well. Okay, and essentially that's it. What we want to do then, we can then go on and we can pull out names. Actually, let's create a new column here. Let's put a custom column called full name, because we've got first name and surname, and we've got some blanks there. So let's just...
Hey, Shep, as you go on, so you don't go on too long.
Yeah,
You've only
okay.
got a couple of minutes, my friend.
Oh, we
You know
have.
that.
My days. Okay, right. Okay, right. Let's skip this first name
I've
then.
got 50 slides to go through in those
We've
2
got 50
minutes, yeah?
slides to go through as well. Right, so we might go over slightly a little bit today, but I do want to finish this. And what I'm going to do here is just close and apply, and that's it basically. So I've got the data, I've imported it, I've generated it, I've created a unique URL to then go and get all the individual game weeks, and I've put it all into a file ready for you guys to download. Now Lewis is going to post the link to where you can download this file. It's readily available now, and there's two versions of it. One is connected directly to the URL that we've done here, so it's connected live to the website. And I've got another version that's connected to an Excel source, which is a lot quicker if you want to do some data modeling and do some other bits and pieces around that. Well, there you go, web scraping with Power BI. Thanks for joining us on this video. Apologies for the sound, it was a live event that we recorded there. Now, all the links that were mentioned in the video are available down below, so make sure you grab those if need be. Please like and subscribe as mentioned to the channel for any updated content that we release, and any comments and questions that you might have, please post them below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as we can. See you on the next video. Boom.